All right, welcome back to day 11 of the Archer Sew Along. Today we will be inserting our sleeves, so things are really going to be starting to look like a shirt at this point. This is a pretty easy step. I'm sure many of you have inserted sleeves before, so it shouldn't be too difficult for you. All right, so let's dive in and get our sleeve set. Now let's first talk about the sleeve. I've mentioned a few times during this series what the notches along the sleeve cap mean. And again for you, 2 notches means the back, 1 notch is the front, and the notch at the top will match with the shoulder seam or shoulder notch of the garment. So keep that in mind. The first thing we're going to need to do is place 2 lines of basting stitches along the sleeve cap because we're going to be slightly easing the sleeve into the armscye. Now these basting stitches are the same thing that we did for the view B back when we gathered that together. So we're going to be placing the first line of stitches between these 2 notches, 3/8 of an inch from the cut edge, and then a second line of stitching 5/8 of an inch. And again, we do that so that our seam line falls between the 2 and we don't have things shifting around as we sew. You're going to leave thread tails, and there's no gathering below the notches. So let's go head over and get those basting stitches set in. All right, so you're going to find your notches. You're going to align your needle 3/8 of an inch from the cut edge. And this is a situation where we do want to baste. So I have my stitch length set to 6. We do actually need to pull on these together. So start sewing around. And just gently guide your fabric through. You don't need to pull, no tension. And then here you're going to stop at the other notch, pull a thread tail, and then trim that off. And we're going to pull out a second thread tail for the other line of stitching. Start that again at the notches. Stop at the notch and clip. All right, so here you can see even just sewing that sort of started gathering the sleeve cap a bit. You want to separate your threads, so the threads in the front, the thread tails in the front fall to the front, and the thread tails in the back fall to the back. So do that really quick. Now we're going to need the body. All right, lay out your body as I've done here. And you want to make sure you have the side of the body that corresponds to the sleeve that you're holding. So here we have 1 notch in the front, 1 notch in the front, 2 notches in the back, 2 notches in the back. So here at the top we have a notch, and that corresponds to the notch right here that's on your yoke. So start by aligning those and pin. Then we're going to come around the side and pin the single notches in the front. And then down to the corner here. Now there's no gathering between these. You may need a tiniest bit of easing just because, again, a concave and a convex curve coming together, but the seam lines are the same length. Then we're going to repeat this for the other side. Match your double notches and your corner. And then you're going to just, again, pin along the non-gathered side. And sorry, I keep saying gathering, but what we're actually just easing. There's not going to be any puckers in this when we're done. So now you can see it's just a small amount of easing. So you're just going to pull on those threads so that the seam lines are the same length, and pin. Then move over to the back, pull on your gathering threads, release until both are the same length, and pin. You can see it's not a ton of gathering, it's not a ton of easing, just a bit. Now we're going to head over to our machine. We're going to stitch along the seam line from one end to the other. Now I like to sew with the sleeve facing down, and the reasoning for this I mentioned in another video, but the fabric that touches the feed dogs moves faster through the machine just slightly, but that slight amount of speed will help you make sure you don't have puckers when you're easing. And it can feel scary to sew with the sleeve cap facing down, but use your fingers to feel to make sure there's no lumps. If there's a lump, all you have to do is stop stitching, stick your hand under, straighten it out, and then continue. So there's no need to be scared, and it really does help, I promise. So start with a little back tack. Oh, guys. Set your stitch length back. And then we'll just sew along, removing your pins as you approach. And making sure that everything's properly aligned at the edge. And you may need to periodically just straighten things out. One of my pins came out. Back tack at the end, and clip your threads. All right, now with the sleeve side facing up, just take a look at your seam line and make sure there's no puckers, you didn't catch anything, and everything's nice and smooth. If it is, you can remove your basting . Again, don't forget the other side. And we now need to finish this seam line. So what I'm going to do is just serge around it. If you have a serger, go ahead and do that. If you don't, you can use an overlock stitch, zigzag, pinking shears, whatever you want to do. All right, here you can see my serged edge. Looks nice. So one thing we want to do now is just lightly press the seam allowance towards the sleeve. We don't want to give it a hard press that flattens things out in a way that's just not, it's fine, but since we have the option, we're just going to do a light press. So I'm just going to lightly go with my iron and my steam. We don't want to flatten the sleeve out too much right now. And I'm doing this on a ham because we have a curved seam. You may just need to rearrange to find the right point on the ham. Just very light. A little bit of steam. Alright, so we now have one sleeve set in. We're going to repeat these steps for the other sleeve and armhole. And then that's it for this step. So we now have something that's really starting to look like a shirt. This was a pretty easy step, and next time is going to be even easier. We will be sewing these side seams in our next video, so stay tuned for that. And if you have any questions on this video or anything else in this series, let us know in the comments below. And make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our video updates. I'll see you back here next time. Bye.